In our last video on well-placed lines, how to draw light, we explored how to use cartoon lines to draw light that radiates outward. In today's episode, we focus on reflected light, light that bounces and reflects off flat and curved surfaces to create highlight and shine. My name is Vernon. Welcome to Toon School. In stylized art like cartooning, using lines to show reflected light adds depth, dimension, a sense of realism, and visual interest to the artwork, and it can be applied to practically anything that is shiny. And this I cannot stress enough. Your use of reflected lines or how you show reflectivity really depends on the artist. It's artist choice. It depends on their style, the medium that they use, the type of surface that's being depicted. And, the aim is to follow your own creative force, to follow your intuition, and just to make sure that the lines that you use are telling the story that you wanted to tell. In Mort Walker's Lexicon of Comicana, which we addressed in the previous video, he invented the terms dites and vites to describe lines used to indicate reflectivity on flat surfaces. He used the word or invented the word dites to refer to lines applied diagonally across a surface, while vites refer to lines applied vertically on a flat surface. So basically D for diagonal, V for vertical. He also had the word heights, which referred to lines, horizontal speed lines, applied behind a character or an object that is moving forward. And just on a side note, that gold bar was a nightmare to try and draw from reference. Man, those things are shiny, smooth and shiny. Without an environment, it was really difficult to pinpoint how they react to light. There are different ways to interpret light reflecting off flat surfaces, as you saw on the skyscraper on the first page. Really ranging from artist to artist. First of all, you have clean straight lines that run across the entire surface from one end to the other. Then you have short, simple lines that merely suggest reflectivity. Double lines, this is a neat trick where you space the lines. You have a single line, you have a double line. You may have one line a little bit thicker, one line a little bit thinner. Although I normally apply that to wood when you would do grain on wood. And then also broken lines like stipper lines across the surface. And then also lines ranging in curvature to complement the shape of the surface. I once saw this gag cartoon by Gary Larson in the Far Side Gallery, where he had this entire pane of glass and there was a duck or a goose flying towards the glass. And he had the tiniest two lines, really just a suggestion. It was like 5 millimeters, 1 centimeter lines just in the center of the pane, just to indicate that there is a pane of glass, there is something there. So like I say, it really depends on the artist. I tend to be a little bit heavy-handed. I can never dial down on the detail. I'm a bit of a sucker when it comes to detail. Now, in an artwork where the subject is seen through a window or reflected in a mirror, reflection lines are carefully placed to avoid obscuring the focus point. I mentioned this in a previous video. I think it's the one on dialogue balloons. These lines are compositional elements. They form part of your artwork. It's not something that you just hastily add willy-nilly at the end of the artwork. And your placement is very important. And the slender gaps between these double lines usually mask out the underlying details. Pretty much just to keep your composition clean. Right, moving over to round surfaces. In modern comic art, there is a variety of shapes to represent shine, but in this case, it also adds volume. So the lines have a double purpose. Now, these shapes include ovals and ellipses, curved lines, distorted forms, all of them complementing the subject shape and surface. This is something you probably heard before in round object. Wherever you're drawing volume, you follow the guideline, line follows form. In layman's terms, you have a circle and you add straight lines, the circle remains flat. But you have a circle and you add curved lines and immediately you have a 3D shape. So the lines usually curve with the shape of the object to create the illusion of volume. Now, the next element excites me tremendously. I don't know if it's a classic cartooning thing, if they still use it today, but I discovered it recently. It's the 4-paned window shape used on round objects to indicate a highlight. The Lexicon of Comicana dubbed this shape the luciflect to show that a round object is shiny or wet. And ever since I discovered it, I've been sort of using it religiously. The magic about this element is that it creates the illusion that the object is set in an environment and that light is coming from a hypothetical window. So even if your object is alone on the page and you're not drawing a full environment, this little 4-paned window shape actually creates the illusion that there is a window somewhere, there is a larger environment. So it sort of adds something on a different or the next level, a different level. And then on the topic of highlights, they are usually executed in white, or you can also do a tint of the object's color underneath. A tint is when you mix your color with white. Do actually check out Toon School's video on color theory. Now, when it comes to volume, highlights are always positioned on the light sources side of the subject. Whenever you start adding light and shading, you have to first determine a light source, and then everything in your illustration will correspond to that light source. Then the use of outlines on highlights are optional, and it really also depends on the drawing style and the inking approach. You'll see on the fishbowl that I used the luciflect on the fishbowl itself. Then I outlined the highlights on the middle droplets, and on the top droplets I have no outlines, which actually looks very fresh and clean. So it really depends on your style and what you're going for. Also, don't try to force outlines into an area that doesn't allow for it. It would really just clutter up your artwork. Now, on the inking approach, this is really just on a side note. I learned about the Draftsman inking approach, which uses 2 to 3 noticeably different lines in an artwork. Line weights, outlines in an artwork. You have your contour line. You see this a lot in anime, manga. You see this a lot. You have your thicker contour line, which is around which encloses the entire silhouette of the character. Then you have a medium line, a medium nib for the prominent features and the prominent shapes within the character, the things that you want your viewer to pay attention to. And then you have your hairline width lines that basically marks the minor surfaces or the color changes if you are an artist who outlines the different colors as well. Then you use a line, a thinner line, that doesn't cause confusion. So in conclusion, when used well, lines that show reflected light can make a stylized drawing feel more solid, more believable, and more alive. For those Toon Schoolers who are feeling particularly creative today and inspired to do a bit of drawing, I have a few drawing prompts. First, anything in a windowsill. Where's my camera? Anything in a windowsill. A girl in a windowsill, a cat, a vase, the Grim Reaper staring out aimlessly. Then also something with Spider-Man. Spider-Man is often drawn in a skyline environment with buildings and lots of windows surrounding him or in the background. So if you want to practice your reflected light, something with Spider-Man. And then also magic mirror on the wall. Something with the evil queen. Yes. On that topic, I just have to say, I don't know how many of you are oncers, people who are fans of Once Upon a Time. But for me personally, the Regina will always be the best evil queen ever. I love that woman. Which brings us to the end of this episode. In our next episode on well-placed lines, how to use cartoon lines that matter, we will be looking at how to depict a subject that is brand new. Until next time, go out, be great, live creatively in very many directions, and may the creative force be with you. Are you freaking kidding me? I never recorded. For the love of art.